In this video, we are going to learn about flipped learning and Edmodo. My name is Kate Baker, and I am the Senior Community Engagement Manager for Edmodo. I'm also a 20-year classroom veteran teacher, and I'm on the board of the Flipped Learning Network. And when I was in the classroom, I flipped the learning for my students for 7+ years. So what is flipped learning? According to the Flipped Learning Network, flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment where the educator guides students as they apply the concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. So this definition is pretty lengthy. How can we break this down a bit further? So if we think about flipped learning in the simplest terms, we want students to watch and interact with teacher-created and curated videos and tools. We then want to check their understanding with formative assessments, and finally apply what they have learned to hands-on collaborative activities and even summative assessments when it comes time. One of my favorite lessons to flip, and this is what I recommend for getting started with flipped learning, is to flip your class expectations or syllabus. Record a screencast using your preferred screencasting tool where the document that you might normally deliver to students becomes your visual, and you talk through your expectations, no different than what you might do face-to-face with your students. After you've created this video, and you want to keep it short, about 15 minutes max for this type of video, you want to upload that video to Edpuzzle or any other interactive tool and add checkpoint questions. I love Edpuzzle because it will automatically score questions for my students that are multiple choice. It will pause the video at the designated time. The question will pop out. They can answer it and then continue watching. And then behind the scenes, I'm able to track their progress and monitor the learning and look for areas where I need to support their knowledge and reinforce it in the classroom space or with additional resources. Edpuzzle is a really easy web-based tool to use. So after the video has been created and loaded to Edpuzzle, I will post the link to Edpuzzle attached to a post in our Edmodo class, and then the students view and I analyze the data. You can also do blended learning with flipping your direct instruction. So any sort of paper-based activity you can turn into a digital one with this format. Create a video where you are modeling a process, upload that video to YouTube or another cloud storage site, attach that link to the video and any additional resources to an Edmodo post. The students view and complete the tasks on paper. And after they've completed the task, they snap a picture using their personal devices and then turn in that image or series of images to an Edmodo assignment. And then when you're in the classroom with the student, you can also ask them to produce the paper and show what they have done. So this is a great way, especially for students who are have some cognitive deficiencies or in special ed, or even have some processing issues. This is great for actually all students because they can pause, rewind, and rewatch the video as needed. And then they can demonstrate and show what they know through additional hands-on activities. So in Edmodo, the other thing I love to post are flipping my answer keys. So instead of standing in front of the room and going over the answers to worksheets, or any other activity, the answer number 1 is, the answer number 2 is, instead I will create a video of me going through the work and the answers. Again, students can pause, rewind, and rewatch me as needed, something they can't do within the classroom space, and they can check their answers. When it comes time for the formative or summative assessment, the test, I will change the permissions on the video and set it to private so that students will have to refer to their notes and their classwork if we're doing an open book test. You can check students' understanding by leveraging the power of Edmodo quizzes and assignments. So in this lesson, students were learning about Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. They were provided with a list of resources and things to go explore and interact with. And then, as part of distance learning, they were directed to complete a quiz by a specific time and also complete an assignment. This is a great way to leverage and get your students learning during distance time when you can't be in the classroom space. So when we think about instructional models, there are 3 types of models for flipped learning. The ones that I have just explained to you would fall under the purview of Flipping 101, where the teacher delivers and models instruction with screencasts or other tech tools. The students watch at home or in class if you're able to meet in the classroom space. The students complete the task to demonstrate learning and understanding, and then this frees up our class time if we're doing a live video seminar together, or if we are in the classroom together, where we can do some additional hands-on interactive activities. That the direct instruction has been shifted to the video, and then this frees up time when we're all together, do some additional learning. Another model for flipped learning is Explore, Flip, Apply. This one is more inquiry-based. The teachers provide students with organized, curated resources where they will construct their learning. The teacher will also monitor the students and look for the deficiencies in their understanding, and then supplement that with a video that will provide additional direct instruction. So they are exploring, and then the flip is in the middle of the learning cycle as students are needed to learn about the content with a teacher-provided video. And then the students apply what they have learned to additional projects and assessments. This can take multiple days to complete within the learning cycle, whereas in Flip 101, it could be a 1 day, 1 hour lesson. For Mastery Flip, think of this as a combination of these 2 instructional models, and that you're stringing together multiple flipped lessons, whether they are Flip 101 or Explore, Flip, Apply. The students attain a predefined level of proficiency in a topic before they can move on to the next topics or skill in a unit of the course. The teacher, though, has to be very organized when using Mastery Flip, because you have to design the entire course before you deliver it to the students. If you are doing Mastery Flip, it is best to have your whole entire unit or course laid out. You, the teacher, provide the students with an overview of objectives and timeline, and deliver this content to the students that they can engage with it in sort of a self-paced manner, but again, within a specific time frame. So if you say for this unit of geometry, you have 1 week to complete the section on triangles, the section on angles, the section on lines, and students can't move on to the next section until they've demonstrated that level of proficiency. Mastery Flip does take a bit of time and organization to figure out. So if you are first getting started with flipping, I recommend beginning with the Flip 101 and then spicing it up with that Explore, Flip, Apply. and doing a combination of these until you can get to a point where you can do the entire mastery flip cycle. So in thinking about flipped learning, the Flipped Learning Network has provided us with this mnemonic, the 4 pillars of flipped learning, that will serve as a foundation for student engagement. And the 4 pillars are F, which stands for flexible environments. The flipped classroom needs to allow for a variety of learning modes, that the educator can arrange the physical space to accommodate the lesson or unit, but also having a flexible online environment as well. And that expectations are made and student timelines for learning are assessed, and that occurs within this flexible environment. Flipped educators also are continually thinking about flipped learning in terms of intentional content. This is not a video replacing the teacher. This is the educator using intentional content to maximize class time in order to adopt various methods of instruction and active learning strategies. All of this is also to support a learning culture where the teacher is the main source of information as the professional educator, but we are shifting, and it's a deliberate shift from a teacher-centered classroom to a more student-centered approach. And as we are flipping our classes, we are continually being professional educators, that we do the developmental work, that we improve our trade, accept constructive criticism, and continually try to leverage this to enhance our students' experience in the classroom and beyond. So if we think of the 4 pillars, F, flexible environments, L, learning culture, I, intentional content, and P, professional educators. So let's dive back into this definition from the Flipped Learning Network, and let's take a look at that group space and how that is transformed on Edmodo. Especially in a distance learning environment when we cannot be face-to-face in an interactive classroom, the online space can still be dynamic and interactive. So in Edmodo, it is great to leverage threaded discussions and posting, from a reminder that the unit test is tomorrow, and then allowing students to share resources and comment, whether they're using emojis and sharing links to things is fantastic to build this sense of community. And while this image isn't animated here, both teachers and students can also attach images and GIFs to posts to help make it that visually dynamic space. Also, to think about engagement, and that we want to check in with our students to see how they are doing. We want to leverage Edmodo polls and wellness checks. Polls are great. You can be very creative with polls by using them as a check for understanding, as an opportunity to vote on a topic, or just to get some anonymous feedback from your students. So polls are anonymous, but you can see the total data for the submissions on the poll. For wellness checks, these are predetermined responses that the students then select from. It is anonymous to the class, but the teacher behind the scenes can see who selected, if they're great, okay, meh, or struggling, and then can follow up with that student individually using a direct message on Edmodo to ensure that they're doing all right. Also, we can get creative with our use of small groups. So small groups are a great way to differentiate instruction and to organize your students into working groups that you can add select students in a space where they can work together on a project. But you could also leverage an Edmodo small group as a digital bulletin board space. With Edmodo small groups, you can either select a few students or you can add your entire class to the small group and create this sectioned off space for a very specific purpose. So my favorite small group is called Share Our Work. And there's a very intentional title with this use of pronoun of our, that I want to create this sense of community space. So when students are turning in assignments to me, I also ask them to post a copy of their work to this small group so that their classmates can see what has been created. And this can create a really interesting and visually appealing space, especially if students are sharing projects that are visually oriented. You can also just in a small way, as you are interacting with students and commenting on their work or engaging in the classroom space, you can reply to posts with, a digital sticker in the form of a JPEG, a PNG, or even a GIF file. Discover is a great place to go to for some additional content and thinking about that intentional content of the 4 pillars of Flip. When you go to Discover, you can find popular videos, collections, and apps and games that can support your students' learning. Also, you can connect with other educators on Edmodo by going to popular hashtags. On your home stream, if you explore hashtags, you can search for flipped learning and follow the flipped classroom, where there are 79,000 other educators who are also posting and conversing about flipped learning techniques. So this is a great way where you can stay up to date and in contact with other educators. So to review, on Edmodo, flipped learning is easy to implement and track. You can create a flexible learning environment with Edmodo's classes and small groups. You can engage students and foster that rich learning community using posts, polls, and wellness checks. You can deliver intentional content found in Discover and assess student learning with a quiz or an assignment. And finally, you can be part of that greater global community of professional educators and continue the conversation in community groups and in hashtags. So I thank you all today for joining me and learning a bit more about flipped learning and Edmodo. Thank you.